beautiful budding bakers. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Today I am going to do something delicious for the kids. Kids out there, you're amazing. I was even on to Ava. Ava, if you're watching with your super mother Barbara, I was thinking of you last night because I want something quick and easy for kids to do. I'm going to give a shout out to others because I've got some lovely requests in. Today we are doing Christmas tree pops. They are so easy and they are great fun for kids to do. They are particularly delicious with a mug of tea. So these are my Christmas trees that we're going to do this morning. Now I decided I'd take out Ruby, good old Ruby, Mr. Kenwood or Mrs. Kenwood, depending on whether you call her Ruby, Ruby, Ruby. Red colours. Today I am using my Kenwood purely because it is leading into Christmas and it is red and it is divine. So without further ado, I have to have a piece of paper here because I am going to give a shout out. Annabelle, who's 5, Pippa, who's 4, they're both sisters, and Annabelle and Pippa, hair. And it is sent in by Teresa Murray. So Teresa Murray, thank you very much for sending it in, but I haven't forgotten. We've got Leisha 7 and Fia 3, and they're Murray, and they're both sisters too. So I'm giving you a shout out this morning. So anyone who wants a shout out for next Sunday, send it in, ping it, and I shall put it up. So we've got Ava this morning with Barbara Noonan, and we've also got Julia, who's just come back from CUH, who's amazing, or Crumlin even from Dublin, who's constantly up and down in Dublin. Julia Ryan, you're awesome. This is dedicated to you as well. So, Christmas. These are so ridiculously easy and they are fantastic fun. They are superb for little gifts. Inside my mixer I have 100 grams of very soft butter. I am adding 100 grams of sugar. This recipe couldn't be easier. It is 1-1-1-2. 100 grams of caster sugar, 100 grams of butter, 100 grams of self-raising flour, and you've got 2 eggs. So, well, there's a bit of snort. So we have got our butter and our sugar. While we're waiting for our butter and sugar to mix, 3 tablespoons of cocoa and 3 tablespoons of buttermilk. I like to add, now this could be ordinary milk, it doesn't necessarily have to be buttermilk. I like buttermilk because it does give a tender crumb to this particular sponge. And all I'm going to do is I'm mixing my cocoa and buttermilk. Little tip, when you're adding cocoa to any cake, cocoa can absorb a lot of the liquid in a sponge. So if you make the cocoa powder liquid before you add to the batter, it prevents your cake from drying out. So I have now got a concoction of cocoa mix and my milk, and it'll make it easier to blend in with the sponge, and that is ready. I wouldn't lick the spoon if I were you, because it is particularly bitter. We've got our 2 eggs, and you know what I'm like. I will always add my flour before I add my egg, and it just prevents curdling. So in goes my sprinkling of 100 grams of self-raising flour for these Christmas pops. And in they go. Boom, clean as you go, clean as you go. Followed by our eggs. Whoop. Whoop. And then we have our cocoa mix. In that goes. Bum, 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 bum. Now you can, if you wish, add a teaspoon of vanilla extract. I just didn't on this occasion because I've run out of vanilla extract. I have my vanilla extract seeping away. There's another week left and it'll be ready. So I've got my mix, turn it down with my hands are white. And there, have a look at that batter. And I'll wipe my hands. Wish, wish, wish. There it is, the batter, as quick as. Now I will use my spatula just to get rid of, oh, this is so velvety and the smell of chocolate is delicious. Yum, I will not put it away, put it away. Now I have my oven behind me, preheated at 180. So I think nearly all my recipes are nearly at 180. I know a lot of them will say to drop by about 20 degrees if it's a fan oven, but I just found that with a lot of these, my oven is a fan oven, but I've also found that I have a second oven without a fan, and when I drop it to 160, 180 just seems to be the magic number for me. So play around with your own oven to make sure that it's preheated is the most important thing. So then we have our batter ready. I have an 8-inch tin. I have lined it. Now I haven't lined the sides. The reason being is that this sponge isn't a high sponge. It's just enough, because if it was very high, it would be very unstable when you're putting on a cake top. So again, in goes this divine batter into the tin, and it's only going to take 20 minutes, not 25, but check. So when you put your little finger on the top of the sponge, it should spring sprung. And I've got amazing messages and fantastic photographs from teenagers that are whipping up storms of delicious cakes, meringues, cupcakes. Kelly Oldham in the Ursulines is whipping up amazing stuff. And we've got Nicole O'Leary. She's in St. Angela's, and you should see her Instagram page. I'll see if I can find links to both, because they are just doing wonders of baking, and it's an amazing creative skill to get into. So well done, Kelly! Well done, girl! Ooh, ooh. So, there we have our chocolate sponge going into the oven for 20 minutes. So, into the oven that goes for 20 minutes. Now, clean as you go. Clean as you go. The next thing we have got 150 grams of icing sugar. We have got about 2-3 tablespoons of water. We have green paste, and we've also got spruce green paste, 2 different varieties, and I'm just going to show you why. So with these particular Christmas tree pops, I have used sugarflair spruce green paste, not a liquid. Now on this occasion you could, if you wish, use a liquid, but you must remember that liquid is part of rendering down your icing sugar. So if you're putting in 2-3 tablespoons of water followed by your green food dye, the problem is the consistency of your icing will go so thin it will ruin the pipeable icing. Okay, so we have got our 150 grams. I'm going to use this one. It's a bit like a Grinch, so I'm going to add the colour first. Take a tiny bit, and you'll see it sort of squeezes out like a snot. So we've got green snot in our icing sugar this morning. My EHO will have a heart attack. So in a tablespoon of water, preferably in the bowl and not on the worktop. Tiny bit more. Look. Okay, and we have got a Grinch looking food dye. Now this food dye I got from Emma in the gingerbread house. You can also get it, it is called, just bringing it back again, it's called Progel. You can get it in Gingerbread House in Middleton, you can get it in Audrey and Stuff for Cakes, you can get it in Peter Dunn's Bake World, you can get it in Sugar Sisters in Dublin, you can get it in Caker's World, you can get it all over the country. So support local. Tiny bit again of the water, just to render it down. And hold on to it and give it a good old brute force. Now this is where you need to be careful, because even though it's quite sticky and it's smudgy, I'm only going to add now about half a teaspoon at a time, because I don't want it to get too runny. And then I'll put it in and show you what piping bags. Probably you should have used a bigger spoon, Trish. Note to self, bigger spoon will help mix. But we're still getting there, see? So it's not dropping consistency yet, so tiny bit. Now at this stage you could also add a teeny tiny drop of peppermint essence. So if you wanted to put in some peppermint, you'd have your chocolate sponge and you'd have your ziggy green. Now don't stop you from doing chocolate. If you're not into chocolate, you can do it as a sponge. And then you could do red icing. You could do it as a red velvet. And with your red velvet, you could have white icing and sprinkles. So it's just the idea of cutting a sponge into 8 segments. There we have it. So we have that lovely consistency where it's perfect. It'll still plop Not too much because I want it obviously to stay on my sponge. So this is going to be ready for the sponge, chocolate sponge that's currently in the oven. And I have prepared exactly the same, except it's the spruce green, just to continue the pattern. So with my plate, I'm going to go left to right to left to right. And I'm just going to make sure that the icing's ready. So all I'm doing is I'm zigging. Zig, 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 zig. I have got little pots of sprinkles. So you can get any variety. These again I got from Emma in Gingerbread House, but just to check all the suppliers across the country because they will all have very similar stock. And then I have our little red, orange. Now you can go crazy. You can do red and white, red, orange, yellow. I have to keep singing to myself. Red and yellow, do, do, do. Red, orange, yellow, green. Blue, we don't have blue. So we do purple. And repeat, we do, where do we put red? We put red here, red there, and we do another orange. All I'm doing is just incorporating the colors of the rainbow so that it just looks nice and bright. Like so. And then we have a straw, paper straw. And all I'm doing, as I'm putting it in, I'm twisting. So I'm twisting. And you've got your little pop. I've got a nose for detail. So you have got your little Christmas top. Now one thing as well are the bags that I get, just so that they're quite, see they're a roll-out bag. They come, I think they come in about 50, but they are fantastic because you can wash these again and again and again and again. But the fact that you can just tear them off. These are huge. I prefer to go for the larger ones because if I'm filling this with buttercream, it just has that flexibility of giving me the scope to fill a large bag. And all I've done is I've cut across, and I will, once this is filled with more ganache or glacé icing rather, I can just wash it and use it again. So again, all I'm doing is I'm ziggy zaggy, ziggy zaggy, ziggy zaggy. I'm sure there's a terminology for that. So it looks like a Christmas tree. Put a bit of sprinkle, go nuts on your decoration. You can do whatever you want. And even go with all different colors. I know this is taking every ounce of me not to do red, orange, yellow, green, blue. So there we go. All different colors. Get one more. I can't help myself. I have to find an orange. Oh yeah, and an orange. Token orange. Now, the other thing I got in Home Store and More, there is no way I would actually cut out teeny tiny pieces of holly. I can't even open the bag. Teeny tiny pieces of holly because they would take so long to do. So these are sprinkles and they're reduced to $1.49 in Home Store and More. So $1.49 in Home Store and More, and that's Home Store and More in Blackrock, Mahon. So I'm sure across the country, Home Store and More will have Christmas decorations. So all I do here is I'm putting on my, whoa, upside down, my little sprig of holly. You could put a gold star, you could put gold Smarties. The only reason I couldn't put the gold star is my edible gold dust is actually gone. Whoop! And they're on top. Put the extra little bits and pieces back into the bag. They're fantastic and they're super for cookies and everything else. So these are an absolute little gem to have. $1.49, superb. So we've got our little Christmas tree, and again, make sure your hands are clean rather than mine covered in. And you've got your paper straw, fabulous for school if you wanted to make them for little lunches. So the other thing I did was I just put them into a little pocket bag. So how cool would that be for a little gift for your friends, your buddies, that you make these little Christmas trees. What I did do is I finished with a little bit of edible gold leaf. So the edible gold leaf was just a little splash of colour against the green, and again you can get those in most sugarcraft shops, and the gold leaf is very delicate. Don't use your fingers, use a paintbrush or use the tip of a knife. That is it! That, my beautiful budding bakers, is it. We have the most amazing students out there. Send in your photographs. I would love to see your gallery. I will give you a shout out. I might even conjure up a prize leading up to Christmas for the best bake. So get creative. Post it up on my Facebook page and I will sing it to the world. I will share it on Instagram. See YouTube at Touch of Magic 100 for all my goodies to continue watching with me, because I will be putting on some YouTube surprise recipes, not on Facebook but on YouTube, so you have to subscribe to YouTube. Next week I am going to be doing the theme puddings. Now for those of you who don't like Christmas pudding, do not fear, there is a Christmas pudding that I will do that is not a Christmas pudding. But you have to stay tuned for next Sunday. So lads, I shall see you next Sunday at 10.